What if the solutions to all our problems are buried in PDFs that nobody reads? This was the opening question in a Washington Post blog article published last May. And the article was reflecting on a recent World Bank study that aims to measure the effectiveness of their own policy reports. And they used two measures to gauge effectiveness. The first was the number of downloads per report from their open data website. And the second was the number of citations of these reports in other publications on the same issues. Now, what they found was that 1/3 of their reports had never been downloaded, 0 times. And 87% of their reports had never been cited. Now, these reports, these policy reports, are part of the World Bank's innovative knowledge sharing activities. And these account for about 1/4 of their annual country services budget. And I actually think that this particular report is very, very important. Not because of what it says about the World Bank. I know we've been very critical about these organizations today, but because of what it says about the potential of such organizations in general. And I think that their knowledge resources represent huge untapped potential. So what I want to say today is we have to tap into that potential, and it starts by changing the way that we think about data. Communication theorist Marshall McLuhan famously said, "The medium is the message." So when we choose to communicate information via the medium of a policy report or a PDF, we're sending an automatic message about who that information is designed to reach. And in the last couple of years, there's been a tremendous surge in the popularity of data visualization and information design. And part of the reason for that is because it is such an effective tool for changing the way we interact with data. Our human brains are narratively and visually wired, and I know that every one of you is going to walk out of the room today and you're going to remember Muhammad's story. So we need to use storytelling, technology, and design to push data to a higher level of openness and accessibility. Visualizing Impact is a nonprofit that creates data-driven stories for social justice. We use technology, design, and storytelling to generate insights about issues that we see as critical to our communities, and we disseminate all of our content under Creative Commons licensing. We also work with relevant civil society groups to think through how information can be used to drive social change and to try and build the appropriate tools. Visualizing Impact was founded in 2012 by Ramzi Jaber and Juman Al-Jabri. And since then, we've grown into a team of about 12 people full-time with a network of volunteers and interns working from various cities around the world. This is one of our visuals published in 2013 called Politician Salaries and Income Inequality. And the visual started with open public data on politician salaries. And our biggest challenge as we began to think about how do we talk about the issue of economic inequality was how can we build an image that talks about both high income and low income countries at the same time in a meaningful way. So what we chose to do was to interpret politician salaries as a multiple of their citizens' GDP per capita. So putting that another way, how much is the average politician making compared to the average citizen? And we'll zoom in a little bit because I know it's a bit hard to see. But as you can see, the US is coming in, US politicians are making about 4 times the average citizen. Here in Lebanon, it's about 13 times. The Palestinian Authority, 24 times. And Kenya, 97 times. And we also used the Gini coefficient, which is a measure of income inequality across the politicians' waistlines. And so what we wanted to show with that was that even very wealthy countries can have high levels of poverty and inequality. And the US is actually a very good example of that case. So what we were saying visually here, not directly in words, was politicians, you are accountable to look your citizens in the eyes. And when we released this visual, it received a very strong response on social media. And we noticed that people were tagging their own politicians when they shared it on Facebook and Twitter. The next couple of visuals I'm going to show are from our first and largest project, Visualizing Palestine. And we have so far published over 30 visuals which together aim to create a comprehensive rights-based and factual narrative of the Israeli-Palestinian issue. One of the themes we commonly deal with we call the one-state reality, which is the idea that Israel's control over the territory, resources, and population of all of Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel makes it similar to one state rather than the two states that we always hear talked about through the peace talks and through the media. In this visual, across the wall, we chose to show that through the medium of transportation infrastructure. We realized that although settlements are in the news all the time, there's very little knowledge about what the daily life of a settler might be like. So we scraped the Israeli National Bus website and got information for all routes entering and leaving West Jerusalem. And we plotted them on a map to see which of these routes was crossing the West Bank separation wall. So what we were able to show through this visual was just how seamlessly integrated the illegal settlements in the West Bank are with mainstream Israel. In this visual, we took on Israel's 5-tiered ID system, which separates the population and gives them different political rights and privileges. So there's Jewish Israelis, Palestinian citizens of Israel, residents of East Jerusalem, residents of the West Bank, and residents of Gaza. And then, of course, there's a 6th category of people, Palestinian refugees, who are entirely excluded from the system. And by controlling the ID system, Israel is able to say who has rights such as education, freedom of movement, and health care. And finally, in our West Bank water visual, we took on the issue of consolidation of resources with the Israeli state. So Israel takes about 80% of the water from the West Bank mountain aquifer every year and redistributes it to the population. They give about 70 liters per capita per day to Palestinians, which is 30 liters per day less than what the World Health Organization recommends. And they allow Israelis, including settlers, to consume 300 liters per capita per day, which is twice the amount consumed by the average Londoner. So we also included data about London in this image to kind of use an affluent reference point to put into context both the relative deprivation experienced by Palestinians and the exploitation and relative affluence experienced by Israelis. Visualizing Palestine infographics have been viewed by US congresspeople, UK parliamentarians, and UN officials. And they've been displayed and used in over 30 cities around the world. And this year we were a recipient of the Bob's Award for Best Social Activism, which is administered by Deutsche Welle. Increasingly, Visualizing Palestine is focused on building partnerships to expand our model and look into new issues. And this year we launched Visualizing Egypt. Our first visual will be part of a program called Design for Dissent, which looks into issues of censorship and repression of free speech in Egypt. And we're also working on a project called onlinecensorship.org, which was a winner of the Night News Challenge this year for strengthening the internet for free expression. And it's a website that allows you to report issues of content takedowns and censorship on social media, which is an issue that has affected a lot of activists in our region. So for example, the We Are All Khaled Saeed Facebook page, which was instrumental in organizing the 2012 protest, or the 2011 protests on January 25th in Egypt, was at one point removed because its administrators were using a false name to protect their identity. So these are the kinds of cases we are concerned with in that project. To close, I just want to ask everyone in the room, because I know there's so much knowledge and so much experience here, to think of a data set that really moved them, that they really thought, you know, if people knew about this, the world would change. And I want to challenge you to think innovatively about how we can get that data out to more people. Thank you.